So one of the more popular questions out there in the affordable pen world is, which is the smoothest ballpoint pen? There's a lot of options out there, so I wanted to run through some of the ones I've cherry picked and at least point people in the right direction. There's no defined metric for smoothness. A lot of it has to do with the feel and the paper you're using, but we'll do our best. For this, I've cherry picked a bunch of pens, and I'll be using this Clairefontaine paper, which is very smooth. First off, I want to say that I won't be considering something like the Pilot Acroball or the Uniball, the Jetstream line, because they are super smooth, but they're more of a hybrid ink than a true ballpoint. So while they're great pens, I'm just not going to consider them for this. So this set of pens, if you're looking for smoothness, generally an easy way to fix that with a ballpoint is to go with a larger diameter tip. So 1.2 millimeter, 1.4 millimeter, something like that, 1.6 in some cases. That is a way to just sort of cheat at smoothness because you have this big round tip, which puts down a lot of ink. So the ink lets you sort of glide over the paper better, and the big smooth ballpoint at the end has a sort of a better roll than something like this Vicuna, which is very smooth, but at 0.7 millimeters, it's difficult for it to roll as smoothly as a 1.6 millimeter. You can see pretty big difference there. And this isn't like a magnification, it's just big difference. So anyway, with that in mind, we will keep moving as quickly as possible. So some of the ones that I think of when I think of a smooth pen, it would be something like this Super GP 1.2 millimeter. It's a Pilot BPS. So it's smooth, but what happens is the ink has a sort of a drag to it. It feels like sort of thick, and it doesn't feel as smooth as it could be because the ink feels like it's sort of holding you back. And that's gonna hit a full range of pens like this Uni Lacnoc 1.4 millimeter. Seems like it should be super smooth, but it just has a lot of drag to it. So if you don't mind having a lot of resistance when you're writing, the something like this is going to be super smooth. But I'm going to disqualify something like that, and that would extend to this Pilot BPS. This is another 1.6 millimeter, and a few other ones, something like this Rex Grip 1.6 millimeter. Again, big smooth point, so it's very old, but it just is very draggy, and it feels like you're just slogging through that oily rollerball ink. Same with the Fisher pens. That cartridge is just not that smooth. Something like a Bic Atlantis, big tip, not so bad. Not quite as smooth, but this is definitely getting us in the right direction. It's a good combination of a smoother flowing ink with sort of a nice glide and a little bit of a smaller tip. So if you're looking for something in the grocery store variety, the Bics are not that bad. Papermate 1.6 millimeter or 1.4 millimeter bold. This is better. This has a big tip and smoother ink. Definitely keeping this into consideration. Some other ones that are worth considering are the Acroball and the Vicuna. These are thinner, but they use really great inks. And I'm not sure if you would consider these hybrids or ballpoints. I've always kept them in the ballpoint camp, but you might call them hybrids, so keep that in mind. Jetstream 101 is a nice option. These aren't very popular, which it's like a stick style Jetstream, and they don't seem to use normal Jetstream ink, which it's a different cartridge. So while I disqualified all the other Jetstreams, these ones have always struck me as being different. I'm, again, not quite sure if they should be in consideration or not, but they are quite smooth. now we're sort of getting down to the really serious contenders here. Schneider, they make some really nice, smooth ballpoints. I think this one is a really great ballpoint if you're looking for something that is just focused entirely on smoothness. This is the Slider Edge XB. I don't know if they're really sold so much in the US. Then there's this version here. This is the Slider Rave XB, which is a retractable. Again, you can see large tip, very smooth. And this is like a completely different class from what we've talked about before. You know, something like this Profile or this Atlantis are smooth and very accessible and easy to find, but the Schneiders are definitely a step up. And lastly, I wanted to get to what I would consider the, actually, there's also from Schmidt, is the P900. And this is fairly smooth, maybe not quite as much as the XBs, because the tip isn't as large, I don't believe. But if you're looking to put something in your jotter, this is a great way to go. And this is the P900. The Easy Flow, which is the gel version, it seems to get all the attention, but the P900 is a nice way to go. And lastly, I would say this is the king of smoothness for me. We have the Zebra Tapley Clip, or Tapley Clip, something like that, sold in a 1.0 millimeter and then this 1.6 millimeter. And this is a ballpoint. It's called a ballpoint on the seller's webpage. It looks like a ballpoint. It's got that big 1.6 millimeter writing in there, and it is just crazily smooth. And this has a combination of that big 1.6 millimeter end and then a relatively easy flowing smooth ink. You will get some of this right here, which is like galloping or smearing, whatever you want to call it. And that's just because you're putting down a ton of ink. But it's really not that bad. It doesn't happen all the time. It is going to happen as you change direction. Or if you're doing a straight line for a long time, it will start to collect. And maybe you just give it one of those circle wipes. Or if that really bothers you, you just move over to the 1.0 millimeter. Not quite as smooth as 1.6, but definitely gets the job done. I would say that, interestingly, the 1.0 millimeter is probably not as smooth as one of these Schneiders. So millimeter for millimeter, I would say Schneider is the way to go. If you care only about absolute smoothness, then you're looking for that Tapley Clip 1.6 millimeter. It is really a nice way to go. And then lastly, I would just leave you with that the Schneider, if you don't want to get one of these pens in a retractable, you can just buy the refill. And this is the Slider 755 XB refill. Really nice way to go, and you could put it in your Rotring or kind of whatever you're writing with these days. So, long story short, I would definitely recommend checking out some of these pens from Zebra and from Schneider. If you're going for a ballpoint and you care about smoothness, they are really superb. Thanks for watching.